All right, thank you so much. We may be seated. Good morning. Okay, we're just waiting for the premiere quickly. I think I'm very excited to get the show underway. We'll just wait for the premiere and then we'll commence. All right. Let me ask you to take your seats so we can start the program. Good morning, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. Sanbonani. Okay, let me start again. I think. Good morning, Sanbonani. Dumelang. Absheni. Nda. Now, I just wanted to do it like the president does, just to get the feeling of it. He always does that, so I thought let me give it a shot myself. Well, it's a very good morning to you, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you so much for joining us this morning on our broadcasting digital migration media engagement program that we're having this morning. I'm absolutely excited to be part of this, and thank you so much to the Department of Communication and the various stakeholders that are here. In fact, I'm just going to go through the list of some of the delegates and the visitors that we're having this morning. Let me start off by ETV. I believe we've got the CEO, Khalik Sharif, with us this morning. Good morning to you, and thank you so much for being part of us. Lynn Mansfield, here with us this morning, and Nomen Muzelere with us this morning. We really appreciate it. And I believe we've got partners coming from the South African Broadcasting Corporation. That's the SABC, and we've got the chairperson of the board, Musama Katini. Thank you so much, sir, for making time to be with us. Chris Maruleng, Chief of Operations, thank you so much for your time as well. I'm not going to mention everybody, though, but we've got different stakeholders, as I said. SAPO representatives are here. Sentech is here this morning. USAASA is here as well. We've got the Free State Premier joining us this morning. Thank you so much, ma'am. Sisin Tombela joining us. We really appreciate your time. And of course, not forgetting from the Department of Communications, we've got the Director General, Dr. Buluka, with us. Thank you very much. And last but not least, Communications Minister Nomvula Mkonyane. Thank you so much, ma'am. We really appreciate it. My name is Karabo Lance, Kesetloholwana Saba Pedil Matabele. And you're probably wondering, okay, what's the switch of language for now, all of a sudden, and what is happening here? Well, I'm very delighted to say to you that we are joined by 65 community radio stations across the country. I think let's give that a round of applause, really. That's awesome. It's a milestone, really, and we really appreciate each and every listener joining us from different areas in the country. If you want to be part of the program, by the way, listening on radio, we do have a toll-free number that you can call us on, and we'll definitely relay your questions or comments to the panel that's here. The toll-free number is 0800 142 446, 0800 142 446. It's a toll-free if you're going to be calling from a landline. Otherwise, if you're calling your cell phone, our producers are standing by to take your name and your number. They'll call you back, in that way saving you costs. Let's not waste time. Let's get straight into it. We're here to unpack the broadcasting digital migration delivery model. And to tell us more about that is different stakeholders that are here and representatives that are here this morning. Let me invite to the podium to make opening remarks and to welcome us all. It is Communications Minister Nomvula Mokonyane. Ma'am, to the podium.
Thank you very much, Program Director, our Premier for the Free State Province, Messi Sintombela, Deputy President of the ANC Women's League, the chairpersons, board members and CEOs of state-owned entities who are all here, senior government officials, leaders of various entities and partners that are part of this initiative to move South Africa forward, all our esteemed stakeholders here present, fellow South Africans who are listening, Dumelang Sanbonani. Once again, let me take this opportunity to thank all of you for your conspicuous presence this morning at the briefing of the Broadcasting Digital Migration, often known as Digital Terrestrial Television Project. Your presence signifies the importance of this project that has bedeviled us for the last 10 years. As you can all see, by the presence of various role players, this is a complex project that does not only transcend the role of a single department or entity. It requires closer collaboration within and across government and the private sector. It is for this purpose that we invited every role player in the DTT value chain so that the A to Z questions of this project can be dealt with at this briefing, and not also forgetting that as a government we found it befitting to put together an advisory council of various stakeholders chaired by one of our own, a member of one of our entities who's also here with us on the podium. And it is precisely because of that that we continue to say it is not government's responsibility, it is government's role in creating an enabling environment so that together we can be in a position to deal with this project that has bedeviled our country over years. So essentially, this briefing is not similar to others where a statement is read and questions are fielded. We want to give the media and the public a holistic picture of the project and its ecosystem. You are therefore warmly welcome. We hope that by the time we all part ways, we'll all be better informed so that together we can equally inform the public accordingly. Our intention is to ensure that no one, starting from the day of its inception in South Africa to date, is left ill-informed, confused, uncertain, but our intention is to make sure that we have one message but many voices, but a collective determination to turn this as one of the contributors towards inclusive growth, towards transformation of the sector, but most importantly, to make sure that we diversify content and reach out to communities that historically have been disadvantaged in terms of access. We will all recall that during our maiden budget vote speech in Parliament in May, we committed to getting the project back on track so that South Africa can join Zambia, Kenya, Malawi, Rwanda, and other countries in International Telecommunications Union's Region 1, and some of our BRICS partners who have migrated their broadcasting system to digital. As we all are aware, the ITU deadline for the protection of analog systems against interference has lapsed in June 2015. Thus implying that as a country, our broadcasting system is currently not protected. We dare not linger any longer, particularly if we want to lead the continent and we continuously claim to be a gateway to Africa, and yet through action we seem to be followers to those that we claim to be leading. And we dare not undermine that initiative, including learning from those that have been able to successfully make a difference as compared to where we are, notwithstanding that we also have to appreciate all the attempts and efforts that have been made by those that have been part of this project, and appreciate also that internationally there's been an experience that there has never been a once-off intervention on migration that is perfect from inception to completion. With us this morning, fellow South Africans, we have the Premier of the Free State, Messi Sintombela. Premier has not only become the ambassador of the project in the Free State, she has also become a driver, bringing all the MECs, mayors, and community-based organizations wherever the project is discussed. As you will hear shortly, the Free State will be the first province to be switched off. This decision was based on the immense support and collaboration, and it also demonstrates cooperation amongst the three spheres of government, but of importance also, collaboration amongst our entities. Once they reach the province of the Free State, we all become a family. And it is that demonstration that has actually made all of us to appreciate that we should then all embrace that Free State should be and can be the first province that can switch off. Thanks to the Premier for her courage and vision. I know that she hates boardrooms. She prefers to be in people's homes, in communities, and listening to people, picking up the information, and go out and become the one who communicates. Thank you, Siyabonga, Premier of the Free State, and thanks also for the collaboration and the cooperation that we are already enjoying with the province of the Free State. I also want to convey my sincere condolences to one of those white Afrikaner farm owners in the Free State in Senegal who came out to provide access for Sentech and all of us to use his own property for us to reach out to our own communities and make sure that there is connectivity. We had an opportunity to meet with him and his beautiful wife when we visited the province of the Free State, and just 2 weeks thereafter, he died in an accident in his farm. In as much as we're dealing with issues of land and some of the uncertainties, the issue of property and the use of property, as well as collaboration and cooperation, was demonstrated by that family. And we do want to continuously remind ourselves that what we have seen in the Free State is a demonstration of the South Africa we want, where race doesn't matter, where sharing of resources is being appreciated, where releasing of resources for the good of the nation became what showed the patriotic character of this family, but also the belief in what government is doing, because that was done without any demand for any compensation, because it was an appreciation that we do need to make sure that Free State, Senegal in particular, does connect. And I do hope, Premier, on behalf of the South African government, you will convey our sincere condolences and an appreciation that somewhere in the corners of this country, there are good men and women, black and white, who all embrace the vision of making sure that land reform becomes an integral part of the work that we are doing, including on digital migration. In the last few months, we have been hard at work to make sure that this project is put on track and is accelerated. Our immediate task was to bring all the stakeholders on board so that we can jointly drive the project in an inclusive manner and rebuild the lost momentum. As announced earlier in July, we've already established a dedicated project management office and appointed Mr. Alfred Dreyer to lead it. We have furthermore established a digital migration advisory council led by Ms. Nomonde Kongaka Siopa to consistently work with the PMO and advise the department on how to implement this project. We're quite happy to announce that these men and women who represent government and industry on the council have so far done a sterling work. Hence, we see some movement on the project. Ms. Kongaka will share with you some of their activities since they were established. I wish to thank all the industry players for making these individuals available to the project, including seconding officials to be part of the project management office. When I came in here, I didn't know anything about this. All I knew was that there was something called a set-top box. But now I've become an expert because of me spending a lot of time with yourselves, and everything that I say as if I know, because we have no chance of standing behind the mic on camera. I claim the limelight, but thanks to your support, thanks to your collaboration, I'm a better person now. I know that it's not just a set-top box. It is about many other things, and it is about what you have made me to continuously say. And when people ask me, I say, no, I've actually known this thing all along, but please don't tell them that whatever that I say, I'm mimicking you. And any wrong thing I'm saying, again, it's because of you. But I really want, from the bottom of my heart, want to thank each and everyone. Those who are sending SMSs, those who come to my office and disrupt my proceedings, I don't want to mention their names, and those who impose themselves in the advisory council. The others are there. I can see today they are putting on ties and green shirts, so you can look for somebody with a green and shirt and a tie. But you have made this project to be an exciting project that demonstrates our South Africanness, working together and being able to do more because of a collective effort and collaboration. Let us also remember, colleagues, that South Africa had opted for a delivery model that was not only expensive by any country standard. It was cumbersome with multiple risks, all carried by government. The mere fact that 11 years since Cabinet approved this project was still this far behind underlines the challenges of this delivery model. It will be foolhardy of ourselves to continue on this path, and yet there is no progress. Again, we have to take into account that the technological landscape has changed relative to the environment when Cabinet approved the project in 2007. From a government perspective in particular, the declining public funds is a stark reality which we have to deal with. Therefore, revising the delivery model became inevitable. This is the work that we carried out jointly with the Advisory Council. As you saw last week, the revised delivery model has since been approved by Cabinet, and we are putting systems to accelerate its implementation. The Director General will elaborate further on this revised delivery model. We have noted some comments that the model will put to death the revival of the electronics industry. On the contrary, the revised model will allow more participation by all the industry players instead of the selected few participating through government procurement system. To the consumer, the new model transfers power to them as they can decide where to exchange their voucher. Again, the price of the appliances will be affordable as the various retailers will compete on the basis of the price instead of the one set by government. For those emerging local manufacturers requiring assistance, the DTI and small business departments are also on board to provide various schemes and various packages. There is currently over 390,000 STBs in SAPO warehouses, Lumko. We will move swiftly to clear the stock in the Free State and the Northern Cape based on the current model. So nothing is put to waste. This will also allow us some time as we prepare for the implementation of the revised delivery model. USAASA will talk about this in greater detail. Through the collaborative work between the PMO and the Advisory Council, we've also finalized the project roadmap, which outlines how DTT will unfold in our country, South Africa. Beyond the presentation this morning, the roadmap will be published on various platforms so that all South Africans can know and prepare as well as collaborate accordingly. Based on the activities plan and the resources we have, analog switch off will occur in South Africa in July 2020, the latest. However, we'll work harder to do it earlier if it's possible. I do remember my last meeting with some of the role players where others were saying, you know, Minister, we'll take you, what did they want to take me to Tanzania? Yes, we can take you to Tanzania via Shesha Lapana. They did it differently. And the other ones were saying, let's take you to Namibia. And the other ones were saying, don't go to America, they took longer. So, and others were saying, go to Spain, go and learn this particular experience, and go and see how India has dealt with this, and then go and see how China has done it. But start in Africa, you can see how in Africa people have been able to turn things around at an accelerated pace. And some in South Africa saying, give it to us, let's lend a hand. So the Tuma Mina spirit that was there was quite exciting because we could appreciate that, yes, whilst the projection is 2020, if we have diverse interventions and different solutions, we can be in a position to accelerate. And it is that is also quite humbling, and hence all of us have agreed on this timeline, notwithstanding the possibility of completing before that particular date and not beyond. In the meantime, we can also confirm that the Free State Province will be the first one to be switched off on 31st December 2018. Next week, the provincial government of the Free State is hosting a joint DTT colloquium with the department and other stakeholders so as to galvanize the province and unlock the opportunities within the project to benefit the people of the province. The presence of our Premier, Messi Sintombela, underlines the degree to which the province has embarked on making sure that everyone embraces this project. We are therefore grateful to the Premier, the Executive, the municipalities, the various service providers and the sector in the Free State, as well as the people of the Free State for their support. When we were in the Free State about 3 months ago, I was we were doing some door-to-door, again on the issues of digital migration. And in my company, we had the chairperson of the SABC. And one of the service providers handed over a gift to a family of senior citizens, and they were waiting for us. And they were all excited about the connectivity and all that. And one of the immediate things he said, you know what, my interest is not about the snow, clearing the screen. You know what I want, Name Mokonyan. And you could see that in his time, he was this smart man wearing a two-tone pair of shoes, a Brentwood and a check shirt. And he then says, why do you think we people of the Free State, black people, poor people, who don't want to watch sport? I want to watch golf. Why do you think my interest is only on soccer? I am one of those black South Africans who have been part of the golfing community, including an academy in the Free State and all those kind of things. And he then says, my darling here, referring to his dear wife, and my darling here also wants to watch gospel. And I realized that I didn't have answers. Thanks God the chair of the SABC was there. So I grabbed Bong Musa and said, you know what, Pendula Baba. And I looked good because I brought somebody to come and account. And the person accounted and listened to the old man and his loving wife. And all that they were saying was that we want our public broadcaster to diversify. And we want to have access, and we can't only be made to be reliant on paid channels. So we would rather have this. And I don't want to tell you what the chairperson of the SABC board has committed, because I don't want to claim the thunder, But I'm looking forward to that time. We've made an agreement that when things change, because we do believe that things will change at the SABC, the first house we'll visit, Mema Ntombela, will be that couple, to go and share with them that we are not only about soccer, we're about sports, we're about diversity, but most importantly, we're about changing content to take the SABC forward. And this is but one of the opportunities. So, Bomusa, before you dash out, I just wanted to tell the nation about the commitment you made on repositioning the SABC for the future. And I do believe that as we do this work, we all have to also appreciate that for us as government, the backbone of making sure that this particular process is appreciated by South Africa is for it to add value to the SABC of the future. We will also follow with the Northern Cape shortly, which is earmarked for the 31st of March 2019. The work in the Northern Cape will be carried out concurrently with the Northwest. There's been some suggestions that we should look into the possibility of switching off metros and other urban centers so that we can immediately release the high demand spectrum. Whilst there is merit in doing so, the work done with Sentech and CSIR have red flagged the risks of doing so. Sentech will present on this matter lately. Yes. I'm just saying that they have made me to say. The detail is with them, because we were quite excited to say, hey, we can switch off and everything. I said, whoa, don't be excited, wait a bit. But they've done a good study, so scientific evidence coming from the study by CSIR as well as Sentech would actually be shared with all of us so that we have an appreciation of how things can actually be put at risk, but also how what we perceive to be an opportunity may actually be a risk, given the situation in our urban areas. But notwithstanding that, there is also an indication of what can be done as things are being sorted in the outer areas, primarily focusing in the urban areas, the metros in particular. On the disposal of analog TV sets, we've also agreed that it is critical for the uptake of digital TV in South Africa and also for guarding against these obsolete technologies becoming an environmental hazard. The 2007 Cabinet decision had it that the department should work with DTI on the strategy for the disposal and discontinuation of analog TV sets in South Africa. This work is ongoing. However, our engagements with DTI have revealed that though this is legally possible, it is a long, drawn-out process prescribed by the World Trade Organization rules. Given the limited time available, we instead opted to focus on labeling and discouraging consumers from buying these analog TV sets. In other words, digitally enabled appliances have to be clearly marked with our Go Digital logo, including those that are in the retail should actually make sure that that is being done. When I was advised on this one, I actually felt, well, there is reincarnation. Once upon a time, I was one of those who was calling for a consumer boycott. I hope this is not a call to boycott analog TVs. It's about doing the right thing and making sure that people buy the right stuff. So that is what would be focusing on. And as part of consumer awareness, civic education, this is what would actually be shared with our own people in South Africa to say, when you go and buy your flat screen, a present for your granny in Hammanskraal, in Zerast, make sure that you look for the one that says Go Digital and pick up that logo and be in a position to get the right appliance. To guard against these analog sets becoming environmental hazards, we are also working with the Department of Environmental Affairs and Small Business Department to incentivize communities to voluntarily deliver those at waste depots established by the Environmental Affairs Department. Small Business Department will create SMMEs opportunities, and our priority in this regard is in the province of the Free State. Throughout the world, a successful DTT rollout hinges on communication and a functional call center. In the next few weeks, we'll accelerate this area and increase DTT brand awareness. We wish to thank the industry player for volunteering one of their communication agency to help us and the broadcasters and telcos for contributing their airtime. We're also happy to announce that Sentech will manage our call center operations. This is because of the fact that the majority of the questions are of technical nature. It is therefore logical that Sentech does it. This will be supplemented by both the SABC and ETV on broadcaster-specific questions. In conclusion, there is no easy project, as lessons from other parts of the world can attest. This project is not an easy project either. It requires all the stakeholders working together, and the media in particular, informing the public. We still have a lot of miles to cover, but with all of you's continued support, we will put it through. In the Northern Sotho, they say, "Mpiapedi ga di shitwe ke sebata. Ditau tsa hloka seboka di shitwa ke nare e hlotsa." I can't translate that, and please don't try and translate it into English, because I know, again, I'm not good at being favored by the media. They will write something that I never said. So leave it as it is. That's all that this project is all about. We need each other. Yes. If you want to know it in English, all it says is what? We need each other. So don't talk about a dog and a limping whatever. You'll just mess it up. You'll just mess it up. So we really want to affirm the fact that only through collaboration, partnership, advice, and a listening ear, we will be able to make this project a project that can bring all of us together. We are open as government to ideas on how to accelerate this, and no idea has been thrown out. As long as those ideas are within the model approved by Cabinet, and therefore not taking us backward nor confusing to South Africans. The time for talking is over. We all have to get on and deliver it on behalf of the country and its citizens. The road to South Africa being a global leader in ICTs starts with the DTT project. And I really, on behalf of myself and the Deputy Minister who's not here due to other engagements, want to appreciate the support, the advice, but also call on all of you, because you are the experts, to carry us, and let's all make this to happen. As I have said, whatever that I've presented here today does not come from my natural intelligence. It's because of all of you being with me, and it is because of our understanding that all that government has to do is to create an enabling environment for South Africa to migrate. And what we need, therefore, is to make sure that we have norms and standards, proper regulations, a right direction, but of importance, have all capable men and women with their diverse understandings and solutions to own up to this. If it fails, remember, I've told the nation, I got this from you. So we have no choice to have it fail, because you would have been the failures, because we know all of you by name. So once they say, no, Mvula must fall, say, no, not me. Just that they could not all speak at the same time, they made me to speak. But I believe in you. I trust you. And I must say, one of the other things that we have said, coming from my own observation, is that we have also made a contribution as government, because political instability also created a lot of uncertainty in the space. So I take full responsibility of how government has dealt with that space. And as I have said to everyone, let's make sure that we do this as if the deadline is tomorrow. 2020 is a projection, but if miracles can happen, and if the energies can actually drive us to complete this before 2020, so be it. And no solution, no idea must be put aside in dealing with this particular matter. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister, for your kind words. Taucha hloka seboka di shitwa ke na re hlocha. The lion. You see that lion, that one? All right, let's not go there. Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Well, if you've just joined us on television and radio, welcome to you. You can be part of this, by the way. This is indeed a different media briefing altogether, because this time around, we are even joined by the 65 community radio stations across the country in different languages, and I would like to welcome them all for taking part and for making sure that this broadcast, the very important one, reaches their listeners. If you want to take part on this, you're more than welcome to do that. The number to dial is very easy. It's 0800 142 446. That's 0800 142 446. That number is a toll-free number if you're going to be calling from a landline. If you're calling from a cell phone, call us in. We'll take your details down, and in that way, we'll call you back. So do that. Let's move on. And I would like to call to the podium the Premier of the Free State, Mrs. Ntombela, to come and join us and give us her statement. Thank you so much. A round of applause for the Premier, please.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I won't be long. I'm just excited that the Free State is the first province, but I'm also a little bit worried if it is not going to happen 31st of December, then I'll be in trouble. So, Honorable Minister, we must make sure that it must not fail. I'm sorry, my voice is not well. Minister of Communication, Honorable Menomvula Mukonyani, Acting Director General Dr. Buluka, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. The Free State Province is proud to be the first province to switch off in December. A total amount of 117 transmitters, 106 for SABC, 17 for ETV, will be definitely switched off. We are working together with the Department of Communications, Communication Project Management Office to inform the viewers of the pending switch off and assist with viewer registration in all towns in the Free State Province. We are assisting because we want to make sure that all of them must be on board. It is anticipated that the switch off of analog broadcasting by the end of December 2018 will unlock opportunities for the Free State citizens and the businesses. Please, Free State business. The objectives of this colloquium is to enhance the communication and awareness of the education of the migration program, to fast-track the viewer migration element in the areas of registrations, distributions, and installations, to create a platform for content providers, local media, and other members of the value chain to network and identify opportunities that come from the project. Is to attract local installers and grow the Free State provincial database. Is to deliberate on current trends within the broadcasting industry in the Free State. For this reason, we are happy to announce that Free State Province will host a curriculum on broadcasting digital and migrate on the 26th to the 25th October in Bloemfontein, and I'm sure all of you will come to Free State for this launching. The Free State community is encouraged to tune into their local communities radio station as well as SABC platforms and other media platforms for more information going forward. The community of the Free State is also encouraged to visit the colloquium of digital migration services and information on site. Institutions such as ICASA, The South African Post Office, USAASA, GCIS, and private industry will be readily available to share information as part of the border discussions. Ladies and gentlemen, we are really welcome to do that. The Department of Communication, working with the province, will embark on a public awareness roadshows to ensure that by the end of December, the province is digital. It must not just be a talk, the province must be digital. Otherwise, matati. Ladies and gentlemen, indeed, Honorable Memo Konyana, I can assure you the Free State is ready.
Thank you so much, Premier of the Free State, Mrs. Ntombela. We really appreciate it. Don't even think about going there for business. But there's an invite that is given us that we can come for the launch, really, and I'm very excited to be part of that. I know that I'm definitely going to be part of that, especially on behalf of the community media in South Africa. Let's move on. Right, we're going to be jumping into the historical context and the revised model of the DTT. And I would like to invite you to the podium somebody who's going to speak to us about that. Acting Director General, Dr. Mashilo Buluka. Thank you so much for your time, sir.
Thank you very much, Program Director, Minister, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed my pleasure to come and present to you the historical context to this project that indeed has been bedeviling us as a country for the last 10 years. Taking into context the fact that Cabinet approved this project in 2007, even though the policy was actually approved in 2008, but the project itself was approved in 2007. I think we should thank the Premier for the leadership. When we were in the Free State, the Premier said something very interesting. All the mayors and executive mayors, including the minister, was there. And then she said, Minister and the mayors, if you don't take this seriously, Minister DTT, and indeed you can see she's very passionate about this. But I'm going to try and be brief on this to give you the context. I think the most important thing, and that's why I think for us it's very, very important to change this, the revised model, because for many of you who have been part of this will understand that the planning and the policy was done prior in 2005. There was what we call Digital Migration Working Group report, which I think informed the policy. At that time, there were nothing like digital TVs or any digital converters. The only thing which we had at that time was how do we transit to digital. And therefore, for us, the idea of a set-top box, and it was something that was happening in Europe and other countries as well. It's something that indeed we were thinking about, nothing more. So that's why I think we moved on that. But the most important thing was that we took a decision to say shorter dual illumination period, 3 years, 2008 up until 2011. The reason being that we didn't want to be the technical dumping ground of those first world economies as they start migrating. You recall that many of the European countries did so in 2012, even though others like Russia and whatever did in 2015. But we wanted to make sure that as they migrate, they don't throw their old gadget to us. And that's the subject that they approved. But if you think about it, 10 years later, as a country, we are still delayed. And you can see that it has got serious implications, whether to government, because for any project that you run, for those that are project managers, for every project that you run, the longer it delays, the more costly it becomes. And I think it's not peculiar to this one. That's why I think there are figures that I think Aldit will talk about to say, since then, how much did we spend? And it's not only on the procurement of set-top box, but all the others. At the moment, we are spending over 150 million Sentech running the network per year. That's why I'm saying as the longer it takes, the more expensive it becomes. For the public as well, for the industry, like Minister said, that our broadcast system is currently not protected from interference because the deadline set by the ITU has lapsed. So we need a way to deal with. But on the other hand, the data, everyone has been talking about 5 million households. South Africa has got about 14 million households, about 7 of them are already on pay. Out of that pay, there are others that might have migrate by virtue of having a digital TV. I think Already will also talk about those data. So everything, the plan, the numbers, most of them, every time when they are punted, they were based on the framework that was done in 2005. So how many years since then? 12 years. So that's why I think for us, really, we have to rethink afresh and come up with new ways of doing it in a manner that is faster. And then like the limited participation by industry. I think that for us, the minister has been saying we have to do this in an inclusive manner, bring everyone on board. Hence, since the minister took over the portfolio in May, our job was to try and bring everyone on board without leaving out any of the important stakeholders, including the members of the public. Okay. Now, having said that, with the current model, where in which government procures set-top boxes, they transport, warehouse, we carry the risk as government. There's a lot of money that we have spent, and the worst thing is we still need more money. 7.5 billion that's still required if we don't change. That's why I think for us we say there's no money in government, as we have heard. The president has been going up and down trying to raise some money for us to do developmental project. So we don't have 7 billion. That's why we have to come up with ways in which we can do that. Otherwise, we are going to migrate. And the worst thing about it, like Mr. said, the progress is very slow. 7%, I think, as the end of May, had migrated. This discounts the numbers or the change that have been effected since we started doing a lot of work in the Free State. But the mere fact that almost 10 years, only 7%, I think is a concerning thing for us. And then on the other hand, the outdated policy and standards, as well as the perpetual delays. All of us are talking about the need to release high demand spectrum. You have heard the president talking about the need to attract investment, and key amongst the projects that he listed there or activities around the release of spectrum. And a large proportion of the spectrum that you're talking about is the one that is coming out of a DTT project. And we need indeed to change the model as soon as possible, so as to accelerate the project. Otherwise, we won't go anywhere. Next slide. Now, this is the model in brief. Because in the past, I think the focus has been on what government has been doing. So we are taking, and in other words, this is because the the subsidy that we used to dispense through USAASA was done at manufacturing level. That's why I think government has been the one buying, procuring, dispensing the subsidy. So now we are doing it at retail or market approach. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is we are going to use a voucher. In other words, there won't be a system where USAASA are going to send out tenders and whatever. In other words, every household will be given a voucher. They can decide where they are going to exchange that voucher to get, whether it's a set-top box or a digital TV. But we are saying it's very, very important to understand also, which is the last point, that set-top boxes are no longer mandatory transitional equipment to migrate or to access digital TV. It's an old technology, but we are not saying that people can't use it. If you want to buy a converter box or if you want to buy a digital TV, you are still allowed to do that. And that's why even for our own self, we have set all those steps that we are going to undertake, including the PMO, the advisory council, to make sure that this project, I think, is driven in a manner that is inclusive and participatory. Now, the benefits of the model, key amongst others, are this one. People have been saying that if you follow this revised model, you are killing the industry. Minister has already talked on that. But for us, what DTT does is that it guarantees the market and access by everyone, whoever that can participate. Like the Premier said, they are in the Free State, they are trying to galvanize and look at the opportunities. For any businessman, they will know, and which through that roadmap that Aldi is going to talk about, you will see where is the demand going to be heightened. If it's the Free State, we have to know now that, okay, we are moving to the Free State, therefore all my stocks can be moved to the Free State. For us as a country, it has got a number of benefits also. Proper coordination, because at the moment you've got 5 set-top boxes somewhere and you find that there's no network or digital signal available. So it allows us to move in that fashion to know Wherever we are going, there's a network, everything has been set up, there are set-top box or there are digital TVs or stocks available. Even for business people, it allows them to plan ahead and see where they can stockpile and make sure that these things are available. Another thing for us is it reduces cost and risk. We share the risk with the sector. Because at the moment as government, we are the carrier of risk. We are trying to think, at the moment, what happens if one of the warehouses catches fire? Who's going the whole stock, because it's not insured, the whole stock will just be thrown, and then what about the money that we have invested in that? So for us, really, it's more to say, how can we deal with the matter in the way that we take advantage of the business systems that have proven to be successful in carrying out this kind of a activity without, as government, being the carrier of risk. And I think this will help us. And in the consumer, I think this is very critical because the consumer can decide where to exchange this set-top box and what kind of a gadget do they want. So this voucher, and what kind of a gadget do they want? Thank you. So that's the last one. So I think this, in essence, this is the model. We are taking a retail approach. We are using a voucher system. And also, subsidy will be implemented, but to a limited extent, because we understand that a lot of people can still buy digital TV. And the more you produce, the more these things are produced in mass, the prices are going to go down. One of the manufacturers said to us that they can produce, actually they are producing digital TVs for less than 1,500. So it's no longer, depending on which size one, that is 32 inch, which is doable. Most of us, I think, watch around 55 inches. So 32 is still doable, depending on how strong your eyes are. If you are not used to computers, you can still do that. But I think the mere fact that these things are locally produced, which is one thing that I'm going to shift on. These things must be locally produced. Whether you talk converter, you talk digital TV, they must be locally produced. That's how we can make our industry to thrive. And I think I should just stop there so that other colleagues can be given an opportunity to talk on the other various parts of the value chain. Thank you very much.
A round of applause for the DG. Thank you so much, DG. All right, 0800 142 446. My producers upstairs are telling me that there's just a flood of questions that are coming in, Minister. And towards the end, when we're going to be having our media engagement, some of those questions will be filtered in. So we're looking forward to that. So 0800 142 446. That's the number to dial if you want to ask questions towards the end of the program. All right, let's talk about the implementation plan, the activities that we're looking forward to, as well as the roles and responsibilities. And to tell us a little bit more about that, let's welcome on the podium Executive Director coming from the Project Management Office, and this is Mr. Alfred Dreyer. Mr. Dreyer, please come to the podium. I beg your pardon, is it Eldred? Yeah, I think did you ubuletse ka batho ba go se bona ga botsa ke ba go tshwana le rena nna re bona Alfred ga ndi ka Eldred. I beg your pardon for that. Mr. Dreyer, to the podium. Thank you so much.
Thank you, dear Program Director. At least you said Alfred, some say Eldrin. So, thank you very much. Good morning, everybody, Honourable Minister, DG, board members, CEOs, and industry colleagues. Yes, the last 3.5 months have been a huge task, and I firstly would want to thank the team in the PMO, as well as the individuals from the various entities that are assisting us, because it is a big task. And I must say, without the help, my hair would have started falling out already. So yes, on to the implementation. So I think it's important to note that broadcast digital migration is a consumer change program. Okay, yes, we talk about set-top boxes and we talk about all these technical terms, but it's we need the consumer to do something. And what we're going to do is we're going to refocus the project to focus on enabling the consumer to get up and go to the shop to go buy a decoder, or if they are indigent, they will go to the post office to register to qualify for a subsidized decoder. In the old delivery model, and then in the new delivery model to be issued with a voucher so that they can go to the shop to buy a device, a reception device of their choice. It should be noted that the old delivery model is not gone. We are still currently implementing. We've got decoder stock in the warehouses, and USAASA and the Post Office will talk about that. We need to get those decoders out and distribute them to the households. So, and a lot of that stock will be distributed to the Free State, to the Northern Cape, and then the Northwest. And from our calculations, it looks like there will be some left that we can then distribute to in Mpumalanga as well. The new delivery model has now been approved by Cabinet. The next, from November to March, we will now start the hard work of operationalizing the delivery model. So what does that mean? So we need to look at the business rules around the voucher system. So how exactly will it work? And then the conditions of that voucher. Can I go buy a flat screen TV with can I take that voucher and go buy a computer with it? No, you can't go and buy a computer with it. So that is some of the stuff that we will look at. Some of the questions that we had in our engagements with the industry was, how will the voucher be redeemed? For example, will it be retail or will it be the manufacturer that redeems? Those are some of the things that we will be investigating. I think more importantly is the value of the voucher. So that's also something that we would look at. Then we will then start implementing the new delivery model in Q1 of 2019. Okay. Execution, we want to take the decentralized execution. So in the old delivery model, it was focused on the DOC doing a lot of these things. We want to decentralize that and let execution happen at local level. And I want to go as far as to say that it should happen at ward level in the different towns as we execute. The program will be phased, so we will switch off per transmitter, per province. And then obviously we've all heard that the Free State will be the first province that will be switched off by December. So as a team, we've created a charter so that all of us know exactly what it is that we need to achieve. And by the end of the program, what are those things, what are those achievements that we will all talk about? Indigent households were subsidized. All the analog transmitters in the country were switched off. Government supported the project. Private sector and industry participated in the execution of the project. And we successfully managed to migrate those last remaining analog viewers onto DTT. So it's important to have this charter so when we get into arguments, we can look back to this and say what it is it exactly that we need to achieve. We also have a structure for the program. There is a steering committee that will look at issues, things that we can't resolve on our level. We can escalate those to the steering committee, and the composition of the steering committee would be the DOC and the DTPS. We will then go and escalate our issues and ask them to help us unlock those roadblocks, and hopefully there won't be any roadblocks in our way. There will also be an interdepartmental committee that will be established, and these are government departments, so the DTPS, National Treasury, ourselves, the Department of Environmental Affairs, DTI, so that we can coordinate our activities and make sure that the program is synchronized with government's programs. And we've already heard in the Minister's speech that we are already engaging the Department of Environmental Affairs to look at a responsible way of disposing of old CRT tube television sets so that it doesn't harm the environment. Obviously, with a program like this, you cannot do everything yourself. So we look to the industry to really come, because the industry are the experts on the program. They know everything there is to know. All we're doing is we're coordinating with industry through these working groups so that they can provide the expert input into, well, the next step now is to operationalize the delivery model. So these working groups will then feed the necessary information we need in order to look at operationalizing the model. Just on research and analysis, the DG spoke about the data. 10 years ago, we had 5 million indigent television households. I'm happy to report the research and analysis working group, they finished some work yesterday, and we're looking at 4.3 million analog TV households that are still remaining countrywide. And of that, you have 3.2 million that are indigent. So there will be 3.2 million that would need to register for a voucher. On the technology side of things, because we're following the retail supply of decoders, we need a specification that's a lot cheaper than the one we currently have. So the standard we have, manufacturers were complaining that it's very expensive to manufacture according to that standard. The technology working group, they're looking at that at the moment, and we will issue a specification to the industry. I would like to call it a vanilla spec. So it's essentially a little decoder that will help you, it will enable you to watch television. And those are cheap to make. We can drive the prices down and then get stock into the shops. Why? Because we need to drive take-up. And a consumer goes to the shop, one of the things they look at is cost. And cost is one of the key things that the consumer looks at. We've already spoken about consumer awareness. We obviously need to, because it's a retail-based approach now, we need to really put a lot of activity around engaging manufacturers and retailers, speaking to them, and ensuring that orders are being placed. And that, as the DG mentioned, that the stock are actually in the shops where we need them. So as we are rolling out, we will engage with retail and with the manufacturers to stock the shops in the areas where we're rolling out. And obviously the priority area right now is the Free State. The funding working group, there will be a team of experts that will look at the value of the voucher, and also obviously the business rules around how that voucher would work. So this is just high level, the plan. I've already spoken about the phasing of the switch off process. The activities at the top are really our internal activities to prepare us for the switch off. And this is engagements with the retailers and with the manufacturers. And more importantly, the focus on the consumer awareness program. So a lot of focus will now be put onto the consumer awareness program and education. So we were jokingly talking earlier on, one of our colleagues was asked about what is DTT, and he was worried that he wasn't going to be able to explain to people if someone had to ask him the question. Yeah. So there's a lot of education and awareness that we would need to do. And what we'll do is we'll start intensifying this, because we have an agency that will now come on board, and over the next 2 weeks we will work with them in order to get that going. And I'm also happy to report that the SABC is heavily, and ETV is heavily involved in it as well, including Brand SA as well as GCIS. This just shows the roles and responsibilities. I just want to focus on a few. For me, the most important is the viewer. So there's a call to action for the viewer. They need to get up and do something. They need to, if their household income is 3,200 a month or less, they would need to go to the post office and register. Yes, it is an inconvenience, but they would need to do that. And we currently have teams on the ground. We call them activation teams that will go in, call town hall meetings, educate the public about what digital migration is about, and encourage them to go and register at the post office. Once they've registered, obviously they will then, in this model currently, if they are indigent, an installer is assigned, and that installer goes and installs the equipment, be it DTT or DTH, digital terrestrial or digital satellite. The other thing I wanted to emphasize is local government's involvement. So we're looking to the Department of Public Works really to get volunteers to assist us with consumer mobilization in the towns, so that we can get people to go and register. Because if they don't do that, everything else it doesn't really matter. So we really need to get the consumer to act. One of our principles as that we work under is openness and transparency. So there was a media query about how much money have we spent thus far on the program. So the figure was 10 billion that was given. That figure was more the budgetary planning figures that were put forward, but the actual allocation that was made by Treasury was 7.9 billion, and what we spent to date was 5.4 billion on the project. And USAASA will talk to the amount that they actually spent on the decoders. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dreyer. Apologies for the Alfred. We must just get, what do you call them, contact lenses so we can see properly. Or maybe move to digital and spectacles, the digital ones. Well, thank you so much for that. That number again, 0800 142 446. Minister, I've just got a message from one of the community radio stations, Bayabulela from the Eastern Cape, for having made it possible for this broadcast to reach them. So I thought, let me just tell you quickly before we move on. So they're saying thank you so much for making this possible to them. Right, let's move on. We will be having the chairperson of the Digital Migration Advisory Council on the podium to come and tell us more about, or to report rather, on the activities of the Advisory Council. Can we have that representative? I'm afraid I don't have a name. I've said it right this time. You know how many times I've tried to say the surname, and now today, because there are cameras, I'm saying it right. Can you believe it? Welcome. A round of applause, please.
Good morning, Honorable Minister, respectable guests. I see a number of CEOs represented here, and also sitting in that corner are the members of the DMAC. My name is Nomonde Gongega Swaba, and I am the chairperson of the Digital Migration Advisory Council. We were appointed in July this year by the Minister of Communications, Me Novola Mokonyana. We, as the Digital Migration Advisory Council members, are appointed in our own personal capacity and professional capacity. Our role as the DMAC is to assist government to realize a fast-tracked, successful analog switch-off, to advise Minister on the implementation modalities of the digital migration program. Minister, since our appointment 3 months ago, and in order to draw lessons from the past programs, the DMAC undertook a desktop research study. From the findings of the study, Minister, as the Advisory Council were able to formulate lessons learned report. This particular report has fed into the new revised digital delivery model. And subsequently, 7 working groups were actually established, and Aldred spoke to them. I will name them. They are the Technology Working Group, Research and Analysis, Policy and Regulation, Consumer Awareness, Education and Support, Content Provision, Funding and Economics, Retail Supply Chain and Distribution. Furthermore, as the DMAC, we have also embarked on inclusive consultative processes, and to date, we have engaged with entities such as the CSIR, JSAG, Sentech, mobile operators, broadcasters. This in order to solicit expert advice on how best to fast-track the digital migration process, and also to free up the much-needed digital dividend. Going forward, Minister, it remains our focal point as DMAC to ensure that the new delivery model is fast-tracked and also implemented, that the PMO is well capacitated in order to execute its duties proficiently. Minister, I'm happy to report to you that the DMAC has received immense support from the industry. To date, the industry has seconded resources in the form of personnel. They have provided the PMO with a project manager, a data analyst, and a strategic call center management support, and also an agency has also been delegated to assist with the much needed media awareness. But also importantly, Minister, the industry has also provided a home to house the PMO whilst it executes its duties. Minister, here we can see the triple Ps playing out its role. And indeed, like you said earlier on, Wuti, izandla ziyagezana. Together we can make this happen, Minister. In closing, as the DMAC, we'd like to reaffirm our commitment to the Broadcasting Digital Migration Program to ensure that a timeless implementation plan is indeed effected, a plan that is cost-effective, agile, and efficient. Minister, yes, hashtag it is happening, and yes, hashtag elamanqamu. We have to make sure that this process that does actually become a reality. Ngiyaleboga.
We thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for that. 0800 142 446, 0800 142 446. Toll free from a landline. If you're calling from a cell phone, call us in. We'll take your details down and we'll call you back, and that way saving you costs. We're talking about the broadcasting digital migration media engagement. This is where we are this morning. And obviously we're unpacking the broadcasting digital migration delivery model. And so far we've had various speakers coming from several departments and stakeholders. And coming up next to the podium, I would like to invite the Universal Service and Access Agency of South Africa, and I believe they're going to be holding hands with the South African Post Office. This is what I have here. The rollout to date and related issues. That's what we're going to be touching base on. Thank you so much, sir. Welcome. A round of applause, please.
Thank you, Prompt Director. My name is Lumko Timde, the CEO of USAASA. Good morning, Minister and Premier and colleagues. I won't be long. I think the context has been communicated clearly by the acting DG. Suffice just to say that we welcome, Minister, the new model. We're ready to be tutored by you. The new model indeed changes the 2012 scheme of ownership that Cabinet had approved. And clarity, accordingly, we will no longer be proceeding with the new procurements. We will therefore be supporting the new model as proposed and approved by Cabinet. Our role previously was, of course, the development of the criteria, means test to determine qualifying households, managing the disbursement of subsidy funds, appoint, manage, and monitor the DTT and DTH set-top box manufacturers, accessories, and installation companies. That was our role in terms of the old model. What we have done to date, firstly, we were allocated 2.3 billion rands, 2.3, for the production of 1.5 million set-top boxes, 1 million accessories, and 500 DTH satellite dishes. During the phase 1, we placed the order for those set-top boxes, 1.5, and we have delivered the 880 128 to the post office and installed 486 077 to the beneficiaries. The remainder of our stock is still at the post office's warehouses, and to date, we have spent almost 940 million on the stock that we have produced. Minister, we are, as I indicated, ready. We've cleared all legal hurdles. You would recall that at the beginning, for up till 2017, the biggest hurdle, which was largely in respect of the dispute on the policy by industry players, it was cleared by the Constitutional Court in 2017, and the subsequent legal hurdles related to the procurement was cleared by the High Court this year. So therefore, we are all ready, and we have a service level agreement with the Post Office, who then assist us from the warehouses to the distribution, to distribute the set-top boxes to the beneficiaries, and we use our installers there to assist, of course. So I will then hand over to the Post Office to give them the numbers in terms of where we are in respect of those set-top boxes and the installations thereof. Thank you very much, colleagues and Minister.
Thank you, Dr. Mtimde. We really appreciate that. And the South African Post Office standing by to add theirs to the presentation. Please come forth, sir. A round of applause for the South African Post Office, please.
Good morning, Minister. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, team members. We are very happy that we are able to address you at this session so we can illuminate or enlighten you as to what the Post Office has been to date. Our role as a Post Office, as per the old model, has been, and to a certain extent in the future model, will still be the processing of applications and the distribution thereof, the warehousing, the ordering, and the distribution of the set-top boxes. The distribution of set-top boxes, when we designed the system, it was done in a sequential numbering. So each set-top box, each antenna, each aerial has its own sequential number so that we can track the location thereof. So this was a new project for us to do. So we have implemented that. And then also what we had to do is we then issued the installation vouchers to the qualifying applicants. And in certain instances, that was done through the bulk installation via installers. Then the redemption of those vouchers as well, and then the processing of the payments of the vouchers through to the installers. That has been the role that we have fulfilled in the current model. To date, we have registered, and I'm going to be flipping in between the next two slides, so if you don't mind. We have registered 904,000 qualifying households. We have received 879,000 STB kits. That would be the DTT or the DTH kits. We have, as per the old distribution model, we are still, now if I can you just go to the previous one, there's about 622,000 kits still to be received. However, we are in a way unsure as to how the model will unfold, given that there's the 904,000 that have been registered. Currently at a warehouse level, and what we have in our branches and our warehouses, we have 289,000 kits. Now that is necessarily divided between the DTT and the DTH as well. And then we have 38,000 of these kits at the SAPO branch level. Next slide, please. Just to come back, is that we have activated the registration in all the 9 provinces in South Africa. So any of the qualifying beneficiaries is able to come to our branches and to do an online application process, at which point in time, immediately we will then advise the applicant whether it be a DTT or a DTH box that would have been required. That is still going to be the process, as indicated by Mr. Aldred Dreyer. We will still be involved with the application process. We will still be involved with the voucher management. As to what the business rules and the business processes will be, that will be fleshed out at a later stage, but we are honoured still to be part of this project. It has helped to take the post office from where it was previously to another level. And we have now just gone to another level as well, as we're now involved with the SASA payments as well, and that is partly due to the DTT process. We are proud to say that to date there's been 60% of the applicants in the Free State have been registered, and we are working hard towards the analog switch off at the end of December for the Free State province. What is very encouraging in the method that has now been appointed is that there is a targeted approach per province. So it's a lot better than actually having your registration all over the country and with very few targeted implementations. If one looks at what happened in the Northern Cape, we are now applying that in the Free State as well. So we are still very proud to be involved with the project. Our focus area, as indicated, is the Free State currently, and we will carry on issuing the remaining STB kits as per the previous model until that has been completed, and we assume that that will be by the 31st of March 2019. We will have depleted the current stock. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. It's very encouraging to see those numbers. Just over 904,000 of indigent homes being registered. That's awesome, really, and we're looking forward to that number rising. 0800 142 446. One of the questions that are coming from the radio stations is the issue that's got to do with people being told not to register. And that we're going to talk about at the end, and hopefully it's going to be addressed. Let's move on and have the South African Broadcasting Corporation to the podium to come and give us their presentation. It's got to do with channels on the digital terrestrial television. It's always a problem for me to say that middle one, terrestrial. It's almost like I got to exercise my tongue before I say that. Please come to the floor. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Minister. We are not going to be beaming up a presentation because we know that's going to be the headline, so we'll just talk. We've learned from the best. Really, Minister, ours is to express our support for the revised delivery model. Oh, by the way, the disclaimer is that I'm now talking SABC, not as a council. So we are really here to express our support for the delivery model, because one of the things that we think it will do for us as the SABC is that it will make us determine our own destiny. Because what has happened is that we've been complaining, there are no boxes and stuff like that, but now we have an opportunity to actually get in the front line and do something about it. To that extent, we've started to have conversations with the manufacturers to see how we can partner, because we do believe that we have the power as the SABC, and also from a content point of view that will make a difference. Because I think without compelling content, it's going to be very difficult for take-up. But also we want to use our archives to actually provide a history channel, because we get complaints about how we don't tell our stories. We know, I think everybody around the room that has a teenager or a young child, we know how much we don't tell our history. And that's one of the channels that we are going to be working on as a matter of urgency. So what's going to be available from a DTT point of view from the SABC is all our channels, SABC 1, 2, and 3. But from November, we are going to also be having the parliamentary channel. So we hopefully around the 10th of November, we'll be able to pull the parliamentary channel onto DTT. We're also going to be having the pop-up sports channel. So this will become as and when, depending on the rights that we have. At the moment, we are looking at doing a pop-up for the T20 series that's going to be starting on the 16th of November. The other two channels that are quite important for us, and I must say that DTT also offers us an opportunity to embellish the role of public service. So it's not just about entertainment, but it's actually giving us the platform to do that which we are supposed to do. And I'm happy to say, Minister, that there's quite an excitement around the education channel. There's also a financial institution that I've started conversations with in terms of how do we contribute. We know that we don't have enough space in the universities. So how do we make a difference in that space? So that's the education channel that we're going to be looking at. Also, our channel proposition for the health channel is already done and dusted and costed. So we're just going to be looking for partnerships. So the channels that we are talking about, all of them, we're looking to partner with private industry so that we are not coming to the minister to say we need money for content. So yeah, but that's us. We're very excited about the new model, because as I say, that it gives us a chance to be in the forefront of our destiny. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to be having ETV as well. We'll have a representative coming from ETV to come and give us their shot. And while we're at it, next up after them, it'll be Sentech. Get ready, Sentech. And we're going to be talking about the network availability.
2 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, the Honourable Minister, Chairman of Sentech, the CEO of Sentech, my SABC friends and colleagues, and everybody else. What I find in this room today is that there's a definite goodwill, a spirit of goodwill for what is to become the digital migration process for our country. And it's almost tangible. When I spoke to people as I walked in, everybody had one goal in mind, and that goal was to get this country moving digitally in the broadcast sphere. My name is Khalik Sharif. At the moment, I'm the Deputy CEO of the eMedia Group, an incumbent. On 1st December, they trusted me to take it over. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, what are we about and where are we with this progress and this process? Before I go on, I must tell you the following. I must tell you this. Personally, I've been in the broadcast industry for many years, more than 20 years, and I've never been to the Department of Communications before the last 3 months. And in the last 3 months, I've been to the Department of Communications 4 times. My wife is beginning to become worried. The point is simply this, that the new energy within the ministry is giving us an impetus, is providing us with an energy that is going to make this process that we've heard of for the last umpteen years a reality before 2020. And I'm here to commit our business, that's the eMedia Group, to this process. And I can tell you very, very sincerely that within our group, we are thinking that maybe 2020 is a little far. We are set to switch off our analog distribution channels by the 30th of September 2019. Wish us well. Yeah, right. So, ladies and gentlemen, where are we in this process and what do we have to offer? There it is. This is the reality from the eMedia Group, and as we see it. We are prepared for DTT in the sense that those channels, we share a MUX, by the way, with MultiChoice. We have 55% of the MUX. MultiChoice have 45% of the MUX. And presently on DTT, we have our E-channel there in HD, our eMovies channel, eMovies Extra, E-Extra, our eTunes, and our eBella channel. And ladies and gentlemen, watch the space. Because coming across from 1 November soon will be open news. As you see, they're coming soon. On that side, it will be on DTT also. Open news. So that's our offering right now on DTT. But ladies and gentlemen, as we do know, and I've heard and I've noticed this morning, there was an absence of a certain word in this gathering here today. And the absence of the word, which I fell in love with when in one of my first or second or third meetings in the DOC upstairs here, was the word hybrid. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not here to sell you DTH. What I'm here to tell you is that almost 8.5 million households in this country have been migrated. What I'm here to tell you is that the hybrid model is the model of the future of digital migration in our country. And that's what's going to happen. Now, it'll be up to the consumer to decide when he or she goes to the market, having been given the voucher from the state, from the government, they can decide what they want to do with it. They can buy a DTT box, they can buy a DTH box, they can buy whatever box they want. It's out there. The consumer, as somebody said this morning, has to get up now, has to make a decision now. The country, the state, the broadcasters are providing all they need. So, ladies and gentlemen, a few challenges as I see it, as the model sits today. The one thing we must be aware of, Minister, and by the way, when the Minister was talking this morning in her address, that in the recent few months, there have been people who have come to her office and who have disrupted the procedure and the protocol policy. She was talking about a guy who I saw in the mirror this morning. So, ladies and gentlemen, before you go there, let me just talk about this. what you have to understand is the world of digital is HD. HD, high definition, is the TV standard around the world. We must bear that in mind. For the DMAC group and for everybody else who's interested in digital, what we are talking about right now, in our haste to get to a migration policy or to get to a standard of migration, we are ignoring the HD process in that. We are saying we're happy to go SD, but you must bear in mind that the world is in HD. It is so much in HD that soon enough, even our spectacles will have HD lenses on them. So I want to just caution this group about that. The next thing is that we must be careful in our migration, that if we go the HD route, we would need many more muxes available to us. What we have on that side in our DTH world, to do that programming now, would need 2 muxes just for the media group. Right now, as I said there, present right now, OpenView will need 2 muxes to do what it does. But ladies and gentlemen, on the DTH side, which is the partner of DTT through this process, okay, you can see on our OpenView model right now, there's SABC 1, 2, 3, there's all our great channels, and if I want to sell you something today, I will tell you that the best movie channel in the land is that one called eMovies Extra and eMovies. And I'm so glad that the process of DTT is going to reach the far corners of our country, and for those people who can't afford to pay for television, they're going to get the best movie channels in the land. Okay, the possibility exists on that side of the screen is that the possibility exists for more HD channels on the DTH way. There'll be no further DTT muxes required. 100% coverage in that model, some percent of 72% for ourselves in this model, no bandwidth restrictions. I'm not here to sell you DTH. I'm here to say we are in support of the ministry, and we want to be able to say that e-media is behind the ministry, the government, and the people of our land for them to get the following: world-class television without paying for it. Without paying for it. These are our people, these are our ambassadors, these are the people who are taking world-class television to the people of South Africa in the digital mindset, through digital migration. The one he says is the entertainment has a new captain, and you know him. And the other one he says, the champion of free, world-class television for South Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sharif. All right, what is the network availability? Perhaps that's one of the biggest questions that we've had when we run our, what we call the phone-in programs on radio, or the 65 community radio stations I told you about. And one of the questions that always comes up is the fact that, are we going to be able to handle this? Do we have enough network availability to handle this? Well, I'm not one to answer that question really, but Sentech is here, and they will definitely tell us if network availability, are we able to handle it? What's the future looking like, Sentech? Thank you.
Right. Good morning, Minister and colleagues. Thank you for the opportunity to come and present ourselves as the people who have painted this country green. And that is why I'm wearing this green brand that people have given us here. We've painted it green, which means availability of the network countrywide. So we have provisioned the network at Sentech. My name is Mlamli Boyi, the Chief Executive of Sentech. We have provisioned the network nationally in such a way that all the licensees who have been given a mandate to cover certain areas can cover all the areas they are licensed to cover. That is our mandate at Sentech. We provision you with the network. That network that we have provisioned there has got majority of it, about 86% coverage, will give us the population coverage of 86%. And the gaps where you see gray on that picture is areas largely in the Northern Cape, which we call them the square kilometer array area, where we are not allowed to do terrestrial broadcasting. Those are supposed to be the radio quiet zones. And for that reason, therefore, we will not deploy any terrestrial network in the Northern Cape, in the areas which have been indicated on that map. So our role, therefore, as Sentech is to make sure that that network is reliable. I can confirm to you that the network has been deployed. If you look at the Free State, it's probably one of the big provinces you can see on our map. The network is healthy, is available, is ready to carry the digital terrestrial signal. And I'm happy that our customers here are prepared to support the move towards digital. And as we move towards digital, this will enable the country to be able to free up the spectrum which has, for a long time, is being desired by the mobile operators. It has been allocated to mobile operators. So that is the first digital dividend can then be allocated to those who the regulator will license according to the process of licensing. For us, therefore, as Sentech, we're saying we have got the network that is available. We are excited about the move and the spirit of going digital because we are left behind. We want to run fast as a country and make sure that we switch off analog as soon as possible. It's costing me, or it's costing us as government, a lot of money to run two networks. And lastly, the key to the success of DTT is content. I applaud our customers, I encourage and applaud those who have made content available for DTT, and I encourage those who still have budgets and those who even don't have budgets for doing content to even go and look for more budget, because success of DTT is content. That was confirmed by the SABC, and we thank you very much for that. The country is green, go digital, let's go for it.
Thank you, sir. We're painting the country green. I like that. That's all right. I've been informed that at this point we will have to excuse the DG as well as the minister. Apparently there's a meeting they will have to attend. The minister's still here. All right. DG is still here as well? Okay, all right. So we can move on. All right. Okay, so let's move on. We're getting closer and closer to the end of our program, and it's going to be very interesting when we have interaction from the floor as well as from the listeners and viewers listening and viewing from home. So we're looking forward to that coming up shortly. But for now, let's have the Independent Communications Authority of South Africa. This is ICASA. A lot of people pronounce it differently. ICASA. Right, so we'll be having ICASA to give us the current status and the future of the DTT platform. Can we have a representative from ICASA? A round of applause for the lady, please.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Minister. So I think ICASA's role is probably the simplest here. We are just here to support everyone in ensuring that this plan is implemented. The support relates predominantly in three specific areas. Development of the regulations to support DTT, digital migration, which ICASA has done. And based on the presentation provided by Aldred, we will be working together to review those regulations to make sure that this plan, the new updated plan, is actually is possible. In terms of the type approval of equipment, we have revised our official list of equipment to ensure that the standards required for the set-top boxes to come into the country are also made provision for within our regulations. So that's already done. And in terms of the authorization of channels on digital platforms, that's work that we're doing. I am aware of the channels that SABC has also submitted applications for, and those are in the process of being completed. And we have previously authorized an additional 2 channels on the SABC since dual illumination. But in addition to that, some of the work that we're also doing is also licensing additional players onto the MUXes. So as mentioned by the presenter from ETV, MultiChoice and ETV have been provided with capacity on MUX 1. On MUX 2, SABC has been provided capacity on MUX 1. But we will also be providing capacity on MUX 1 to community television broadcasters. And that is a process that ICASA will be undertaking in the 19-20-21 financial year. And the reason it's only starting then is that we're in the process of reviewing community broadcasting review of the regulations for community broadcasting. And that process will, there's a allocation of about 27 standard definition channels that will be available for community television broadcasting services. And the 5 existing community channels will also be given capacity on the MUXes as it stands. We're also in the process of licensing an additional commercial free-to-air broadcasting service licensee on MAX 3. That process is underway and should be completed by the 31st of March 2019. And we have also issued an invitation to apply for radio frequency spectrum on the 45% of MAX 3 for subscription broadcasting player to be on the MAX. The invitation to apply expires on the 31st of October 2018, and we hope to finalize that process on 31st of March 2019. But like I said, I think ICASA's process is the simplest. I think as long as everybody comes to us with their channel authorizations and advises us of what they need support from us for, we are available and willing to assist. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. I think we're getting towards our last speaker for the morning, or the presentation rather, for the morning. And immediately after that, I'm going to ask the panel to come on stage, and we'll be having engagement coming from the floor as well as from the listeners and the viewers at home. I think we're going to wrap up the presentation by inviting the... All right, in fact, we are at the point where we can invite the panelists to please come forth and take up their seats. Then we're going to have engagement coming from the floor as well as from the listeners and viewers at home. So the panelists, if you can please make your way through to the stage so that we can start with that process. If you just joined us, well, welcome to it. It is a special broadcast and a media engagement briefing coming from, or rather by the Department of Communications together with different stakeholders, as well as the 65 community radio stations across the country. The name is Karabolans, and I'm glad that you've taken some time to be with us this morning. We really appreciate it by way of television and radio as well. So on radio, television, if you want to perhaps engage the panelists on the stage, you're more than welcome to give us a call on 0800 142 446, 0800 142 446. Government Communication and Information System Radio Unit is standing by to take your calls. So let's do that. Should we open the floor quickly? Questions, I'll take 3 at a time. Rounds of 3. Ma'am, I see you number 1. Ma'am, number 2. I'll take the gentleman at the back with the beanie, with the black beanie. You'll be number 3. Mish, can you? Right, and after this round, we'll take a round from the listeners as well. There's quite a number of questions that have been posed by way of our WhatsApp interaction with the listeners. We'll take that after the 3. So, number 1 is here, number 2, and number 3 at the back. Just mention your name, your media house, and your question, please. Thanks.
Thank you, from I just wanted to get clarity on the amount for the voucher. I understand so provide 30% subsidy, but how much is the actual voucher going to be given to a household?
All right, let's go for number 2.
Good afternoon, or good morning, sir. Cindy Joy from IT Web. I just wanted to get a sense of how much, with regards to the desired model, how much government is actually saving.
All right, thank you so much, ma'am. Number 3 is at the back. Is the gentleman with the black beanie at the back.
Morning. My name is Steven Siapwe, editor of Mapepeza Community Newspaper in Gauteng. My question is to anybody in the panel who can answer this. Would like to ask, in terms of the public education and the awareness campaign, which agency has been appointed, and which due process was followed in order to appoint an agency, and how will they actually find research in the communities regarding the statistics on the users that are supposed to be educated, because we find that most of the time the department will handle this and will use mainstream channels, whereas the communities in far-lying areas, especially in the areas like the Free State, will not be accessing such education platforms. So we'd like to ask which agency sort
Thank you so much, sir. All right, panelists, those are the 3 questions.
Okay, thank you very much for the questions. On the value of the voucher, the Funding and Economics Working Group is still working on it, so we don't have an answer on that one yet. In terms of savings for government, it would essentially be on the procurement of decoders. So it could be anything. It could be anything from 0 to I don't know whatever the amount is that the decoder would cost. So I mean, if I give you a scenario, if the decoder was 400 Rand and you have to buy it for 3.2 million households, you're looking at 1.28 billion. But that is an example. On the public education, the agency, so of the organizations that are assisting us, one of the organizations has offered to provide us with an agency. There was a conflict of interest with that agency. So they're going to come back to us and in the next day or 2 inform us of who the new agency will be. And once we have that information, we will share it with the media.
Would you like to finish?
Thank you. Everything that is being done here happens on the basis of collaboration with people in the sector. Very little, even on what you had asked from Mapepeza, has very little to do with government and public funds. It is a contribution that comes from one of the stakeholders who are part of the council. Secondly, the issues that are related to the costs and the savings with regard to the new model, I think Aldred had already responded to that. We all do appreciate that, notwithstanding the first intervention by government, what we seek to do now is to focus primarily on communication, on dealing with the regulatory environment, norms and standards, and partnership with the private sector, with government providing minimum support as we have made a commitment of subsidizing the indigent. And that is exactly what we would all be focusing on. The last thing that I also think it would be quite important to explain is that, as it has been indicated, no money has been put to waste and no project has actually been stopped. We are going to deal and utilize all those resources that were procured in the past and that are already in the hands of government in terms of implementation. All other issues that have to do with what was intended is receiving consideration through the work streams that are there, that are actually coordinated through the Advisory Council. Thank you.
Thank you so much for all those questions. Let's have another round from the floor. I'm just going to identify hands. Once you are identified, I'm going to move over to questions coming from the television and the radio sector at home. So you're number 1 at the back with a striped shirt. So you're number 2. The last one, so you're number 3. All right, so note that, Mish. All right. Before we take those questions on the floor, let me just jump into this one coming from Takalani Community Radio Station, all the way out in the Eastern Cape. And the Takalani Community Radio represented by Patko. Patko says he wants to... Patko is our regular caller, by the way. Thank you so much, Patko, for being part of the show again this morning. We really appreciate it. Patko wants to find our minister and the panelists the switch off in the Eastern Cape. When is that taking place? That's the first question. The second one, he says many people registered for the set-top boxes since May 2018. Up until now, nothing has happened, he says. All right, and then the final one, he's more concerned about radio. He says, I'm hearing us talking about television, But where is radio coming into the picture in this? Are we going to migrate radio as well? Are we going digital on radio as well? We're going to find out. Patco, thank you so much for calling in. By the way, if you also want to be part of this, 0800 142 446, that's 0800 142 446. Before we answer the questions from the community radio stations, let's take the questions from the floor, please.
Good day, my name is Naomi Beck, Channel 7. The question to the panel is, what guarantee do we have in the future that the set-top boxes won't be encrypted?
Thank you so much, sir, for that. All right, the second person. Your name, sir, and the media house you're representing.
Yeah, good morning, Minister Dumela. I'm not from media, I'm from the National Lotteries Commission, as one of the participants here. Yeah, Minister, let me compliment your team. I think now that we've got dates, it's good, we know where we're going. Just as a contribution, Minister, in the panel, given now that ICASA has published the issue on high demand spectrum, I think as a contribution, if you can have a parallel program that talks about the spectrum migration in line with the DTT, so that all investors can at least have a clear indication for timelines. Because what you've discussed this morning, it might just be more about television for people who are not understanding the sector. But I think if you bring ICASA on the spectrum side, so that we have a parallel process, I think it will clear up for many of the potential investors. Thank you, but congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. The last person, Mish. 0800 142 446. If you're listening from home, we'd like to hear from you as well. You're more than welcome to call in on that number. It's a toll-free number if you're calling from a landline. Otherwise, if you're calling from a cell phone, call us. We'll take your details down and we'll get back to you. We'll save you costs. Third person?
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ozaya Mutuari. I'm from the private public sector, and what I wanted to find out from the panel.
Well, I'll ask you to speak a little bit louder, so please, if you may.
What is happening is I want to know what is the security around the set-top boxes that we're talking about at the moment. How are we going to stop the influx coming into the country? I think I've seen in one slide where that was given by the presentation given by Dr. Amachileboloka to say that they are looking into standards. Now, the standards that you guys are talking about, are you actually going to revise the standard that we've got? Because the country took DVB-T2 as a de facto standard, okay? So now, if you're talking about a cheaper standard to make the boxes cheaper, how are we going to actually do that, okay? And the security of the country as well. The influx of the boxes coming into the country. How are we going to make sure? Is SABC going to be actually recertifying the boxes, because we need to go out there again and do a redesign of our set-top boxes and everything to match what the country needs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. All right.
Thank you very much. I want to deal with the particle question from Aliwal North, Takalani community. And I think it's got a very valid question on when is the Eastern Cape switching off. The roadmap that Aldit presented, if you look at it, I think after Northwest, it should be Limpopo, I think. And then after Limpopo, I think we start with the provinces that are topographically difficult. Mpumalanga, KZN, and Eastern Cape. Those are the ones that are difficult. It's not flat. And anyone who's in the broadcast space will understand that you don't just need a normal terrestrial to access a signal, a TV signal in those provinces. You need, I think, gap feeders or any other, whether it's DTH, whatever kind of platform that you use. So I think if we state there is number December 2019, that would be, the Eastern Cape will be to December 2019. But like Minister said, if we can, through the partnership that we have with industry, to bring the day closer, Nothing stops us from doing that. I think for us it's based on the resources that we have and some of the work that is left to get underway, because it's more than just the delivery of the decoders or dispensing subsidy. Then on the issue of when are we migrating radio? Radio is very important. As you are aware, the majority of South Africans or any other developing country rely on radio for information. So what we are doing is, it's not mandated to migrate radio. But what we've been doing as part of doing the preparatory work, Minister has released a policy directive on some preparatory work around digital radio so that Sentech can start introducing that. This is also to address the frequency shortages in provinces such as Gauteng, where it's very difficult for now to provide any additional service. So I think a lot of work is underway in respect of that. Now, with regard to those that have been registered as far back as May 2008, see, one of the things that has always been difficult, and that's why we want to address it through this model, is we were very haphazard in our approach. Sometimes you go and do the set-top box rollout in Limpopo. Sometimes you go to Northwest. But you find that there's no digital signal. Therefore, you can't implement it until you have gone there. So one of the good things, or the major advantage of this model, is that wherever you go, you know by the time you leave, everyone who has got a digitally enabled appliance is able to receive this. And I think that's the benefit. So at the moment, I know Minister likes saying that she has seen some of them in the Free State on top of the wardrobes. Yeah, in KZN. Some of these decoders are on the wardrobes. People don't know what to do with them. But because this is simply because of the manner in which probably we're not following a coordinated approach. So this model helps us to ensure that indeed, as we go, one province, we do it. By the time we leave the province, it's totally switched off. Every household has got access to that. Indeed, we'll go back to those ones that haven't got. But I think they must hold on until we get to that province, because we find that the signal is a problem. But where the signal is not a problem, indeed, this can be switched on accordingly, and we attend to that. And I'm happy. I wrote to the CEO of SAPO last week to say we need to address this issue of blockages and delays at post office, because I think there's one thing that is discouraging for some of the households. You go there, you queue as if you are going for elections, and we need to address that somehow to ensure that we've got dedicated capacity to deal with DTT installations and registration instead of having them to go through the other tellers and so forth. And they've committed to improving that with more additional tellers for SAPO. I think I'll deal with others, Minister.
Thank you. I think a question was raised with regards to the ICASA and also the spectrum migration. I think those who also follow what has happened about a month or so ago in Durban when we hosted the ITU 2018, President made it very clear the importance of ensuring that the spectrum actually does get freed up. So from the side of ICASA is also in the process of publishing for the release of the INT spectrum. So work is underway from the side of ICASA.
I'm going to answer the question around the standards and encryption. So the platform is free to air. Platform is free to air. On the issue around security of decoders, as I think the DG mentioned it in his presentation as well as the Minister, we wanted to put a moratorium on the import of on grey imports. Imports that are not that have not gone through our conformance testing process. The DTI has said, look, it's going to be a little bit complicated. If we're going to tell a country that they can't import analog TVs into our country, we need to forego something. So because trade is reciprocal. So they've asked us to then rather, in our messaging, consumer awareness, inform viewers by a decoder with a Go Digital branding on the packaging. And in that way, economics will take over and the demand for grey imports will go down, and eventually analog TVs will then disappear off the market. So that's essentially the answer to that. Just in terms of the standard, the SANS 862 standard comes up for review now at the end of December. We will withdraw that standard and then we'll issue the market with a specification in order for the manufacturers then to manufacture cheaper decoders. That doesn't mean that T2 disappears. T2 and MPEG-4 are the base standards. We were talking about stuff like MEG, which is a very archaic middleware that's in the decoder. We're taking that stuff out. In order to make the decoders, for the manufacturers to make it for a lesser price. And that doesn't mean that if you're making a cheaper decoder that it's a substandard decoder. No, it just means that the bells and whistles that were there are now out, and the decoder is there in order to achieve the objective of watching television and enjoying entertainment. And that's really what we want to achieve with this program. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those answers. I think there was one question that had to do with awareness and education. Have we touched on that? To what extent are we taking the message to the people in terms of educational awareness?
The best practice so far is what we have in the Free State. Ward councillors in their own municipalities are on board. And they make it part of their community engagement. And hence, in some of the towns in the Free State, even at the municipality level, they have the information, they provide the support, and they link with the post office to assist the indigent families that are deserving. That's one. The second issue is the partnership that we have, including the responsibility by government. The lesser we make sure that people opt for things that are beneficial in terms of procurement, the better, and more investment on reaching out to the end user. And that's exactly what we are now doing. So the role of local government has become very, very important. The second one is that we have different role players who have their own platforms that they have also availed, so that then there is communication and there is outreach to communities and deserving individuals. The third one, working together with SASA, we are also verifying the information about those who are deserving, and thanks God, you know, the SASA issue that is now being done in collaboration with SAPO helps us also to have easy access to that information. So we are able to now know exactly, based on the footprint of SAPO and the data that is with SASA and SAPO, as to who then is part of this targeted group that government has an obligation on. However, one of the other things that is a reality, before I even knew that I would move from sanitation to DTT, last December I bought 3 sets of television sets for my own grandparents in KwaZulu-Natal. They have automatically now migrated because of the kind of television sets that one had purchased. And it is those kind of things that we must also raise awareness on, that as you now go to your home over the festive season and you wish to buy a present, rather buy this valuable item. Just that. So messaging, word of mouth also becomes important, but the retailers themselves would also be using that kind of a platform precisely because government's core responsibility is to create an enabling environment and make sure that we have an informed citizen.
Thank you very much, Minister. I think we're going to take a last round of 2 actually. One will be from the floor, one will be coming from the media, listening to us on radio and television. So you're number 1. So with the red tie at the back, you're number 2. Number 3, going once. So, oh no, sorry, this is not an auction. Right, so we'll take those 2. Mish.
We'll auction in the spectrum and bring it.
Alright, sir, go for it.
Thank you, MC. My name is Dimitri Martinez from MC and Digital. I just wanted to check, does the voucher include the cost of an antenna as well as installation, or is it just for the set-top box? And then, I'm not sure, Chair, if we can ask a question to ETV, because it's actually ETV and ICASA linked. ETV mentioned that they would only put third-party licensed channels onto their platform, and I just wanted to find out whether ICASA would be running a separate process to the normal channel authorization, which is in the regulations. Or maybe ETV can clarify, perhaps it's not only licensed broadcasters that they mentioned. And Chair, if I may, then is the free-to-air invitation to apply going to be going out as well for the remaining capacity amongst 3, or will it only be the subscription portion that is now advertised? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Last question at the back, last from the floor. And I'm taking 2 questions on radio and TV.
Thank you, thank you. My name is Sil Gulugu and I'm from Mulombi, Kwamhlanga. I just want to find out about the voucher. They spoke about the voucher from the post office to the household. So I couldn't get it clearly then. How is the household going to locate the installer? Or is there a way maybe installer must go to the post office and be accredited? Or what I couldn't understand there. Can you please elaborate further on that one? And then again,
Chavi the Baba.
okay, no. Okay, Minister, again, in terms of LED, local economic development, yes. I just want to find out how is this system going to help us? Because we'll find out that I'm staying in Moloto, and then I'm an installer, we are 5 or 6, and there comes an installer from KZN. They come and work at our area. So can you please check that one? Can you take you?
Thank you very much. I'm glad I'm a fellow Chaba because it's linked to the one I'm going to ask now, coming from Ngubeko Community Radio. Ngubeko Community Radio out in KwaZulu-Natal. We thank you so much, listeners of Ngubeko, for having taken part in our broadcast. They want to find out, they say they've mobilized the youth to be skilled in the installation of these set-top boxes, and eventually spend their own money to do that, hoping that once that is done, government will then come to the party and they will send work their way in terms of installers. They're worried, Minister, that they haven't seen that happening. Can we touch on that? The last one, they ask in the same radio station, they say there are talks of pensioners who used to work for government. Apparently they're disallowed to register. Can we touch on that as well?
Thank you. I'll address the one which talks to local economic development. Basically what happens is that, and especially from SABC perspective, we cannot transport installers from other provinces to install in certain communities. The plan also, even from a DMEC perspective, is that we've got to empower local communities, hence the training that is being done on the ground. And the purpose and the reason behind ensuring that we empower local installers is the fact that even if something happens after the installation, they can actually be able to provide that aftercare service.
I'll take the question on the voucher. So I did mention in my presentation that we are currently busy developing the business rules around how this voucher will work. But one example is to follow the DIY approach. So when you buy the decoder, the antenna is in the box, and you go home and you try to see if you can install it by yourself. If not, you phone the call center and you ask them for an installer on the vetted database. So we'll have a vetted database of qualified installers, and you phone an installer that lives around the corner from you, instead of phoning someone in Johannesburg to come and assist you.
Is it factored in the cost of the voucher?
Yes. So to answer the question around is it factored into the cost of the voucher, we're still busy working on that one, and we will take the point and just consider it as part of the input into the development of getting to the point of deciding what exactly the value of that voucher needs to be. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There are two questions that are linked. The other ones which I did answer partly on the installation. One on qualifying criteria, like somebody who has been precluded from applying because he has worked for government. I think the criteria are very clear and transparent. If you can look at there, I think that's where they are. In other words, you must be within a minimum threshold of payment, that's where, of salary per household, that's how you qualify. So a person, if maybe your pension exceeds that which has been provided, surely the pensioner should be able to get. Because I don't think there's any pensioner who's getting over 3,200. So I think the criteria are there. You can contact the PMO to see whether you qualify. And I think SAP will also help. You see, one of the benefits of this model is this. And that's what we've been saying, that for people or for businesses that want to work in rural area, it requires a totally different approach. You can go stockpile these things and ask the household to come and exchange those vouchers at your facility. And as part of the incentive, you can say, I can do the installation for free. It's the same, I think it's the same model that is being used in Pay, or there are others that you can use. But I think the advantage with this is, as a voucher, you can decide where you want to exchange this and what kind of incentives or what kind of benefits do you get beyond just exchanging the voucher. Some can bring transportation costs for you for free. So I think that's the benefit of the model. But in relation to that question around KZN, indeed we know many provinces have started working on reskilling their youth on the installation. And I think the Free State has shown this. The government of Free State has put together a list of about 50 installers. Those that will be graduating next week, I think they'll be given a certificate next week. Helped by the province to get the critical skills on how to do the installation. And those are some of the activities that we support. It's so unfortunate that KZN probably is coming lower later in the implementation. But we hope other provinces will do the same. But they shouldn't despair. We are still coming. It's not that now that they've done the training means that it would never be used. But the good thing is, beyond just free-to-air, pay TV is growing in South Africa. And that installation will help a lot in helping them to identify the opportunity just beyond the DTT. They can be about the repairs, they can be about other things around the electronics. So we hope that skill will still be used can still be for a good use in other areas of the value chain. Thank you very much.
Notwithstanding the date for KZN, I would really firstly appreciate the efforts that have been done out of their own, what Ngubeko Radio. It would be good if we keep contact, because remember, the issues around communication and awareness still remain a critical part of this project. So whilst we are going through processes of switching off in KwaZulu-Natal, we can also find work that these young people can be in a position to do. And therefore, it shouldn't be seen as a thing where they now have to wait until we come to KwaZulu-Natal. So I'm proposing, and I'm committing that we get in touch with them and we work together with them and make sure that they then become part of this entire process. On local economic development, the gentleman from Kwamhlang, I think you have been answered fairly. Yes, everything has to be localized. Initially, it was just the Department of Public Works. Now, through the Unemployed Insurance Fund, the Department of Labor has also come to the party to ensure, therefore, that we create local economies and we make sure that that is going to be done, whether it's assembly, whether it's distribution, whether it's installation. There must be a semblance of local participation and local involvement, not just in terms of the beneficiaries. And we quite also are excited that now with the Department of Small Business Development, a few of their own entities have shown interest, and I do believe through you, DG, we need to bring them on board on the work and the equipment that are lying at USAASA, and see how they can then also become agencies for distribution, for installation. I've also been informed that the Department of Science and Technology has a number of young people that have been trained, but they've not been given any responsibility in this space. This is the opportunity. So there is nothing that we're going to leave. In fact, the more the merrier. And what has happened since the matter has been before Cabinet, everybody has come out to say, I want to lend a hand. And I have made a contribution. We now have to make sure that there are linkages. And for me, that is what is quite important. Lastly, even on the work that CSIR has done with Sentech, on top of that, there is also work done together with Telkom and Science and Technology on localized products, such as your set-top boxes, such as your new equipment, and so forth. We need to link this to us embracing innovation, us embracing smart ideas that are coming from South Africa, and most importantly, giving way to new participants in different stages of the rollout of this project.
I think Dimitri raised a question with regards to the allocation of the marks. Yeah. So what has happened today is that 55% of Max 3 is actually in the process of being licensed with the ITA first, which was issued in February 2017, and then the date was later extended to this 16 November 2017. And public hearings are going to be held in November 2018. I'm not sure whether the dates have actually been gazetted already, but the process is underway.
All right, thank you so much for those answers. I think this is where we have to leave it for today. But before I wrap it up, I'm going to ask the Minister to please give us the closing remarks. Am I correct? Yes, Minister, please.
I never knew that there were closing remarks in the media brief. Let me do that nonetheless. But yeah, thank you very much. I think both the presentations, the questions, again indicate that there is no blueprint to what we are seeking to do. And that there isn't something that says we are now closed. We will no longer listen to anything and what anyone is raising. And hence, we should, all of us, agree that through the Advisory Council, all of us would continuously make inputs. Our work streams must be our site of action, but the lesser time we spend in boardrooms and talking to one another, the better. The more we go out and test every idea on the ground, the better for us. And for me, that is what the Free State option is demonstrating, but also the roadmap is indicating. I really would wish to thank everybody once more on behalf of government that has made government to realize that only through partnership and only through collaboration we can be in a position to take this kind of a responsibility to where it is. I want to thank the the DG here, the team from the department, all departments that are represented in the Advisory Council, and all other representatives, and people who ordinarily would have been competitors who are almost adversaries to one another. Today we're sitting, all of us here. You hear how e-media makes noise, and you hear how SABC speaks so nice and smart through NOMSA. You hear the manufacturers there raising a... Because at the end of the day, we need each other. I think that's the spirit. Our competition, our being must not necessarily make us to be hostile partners. There shouldn't be any hostility, but what must always be there is to keep each other informed. And for us in government, do appreciate we don't know much. We have a responsibility to make sure that this happens, and it happens in a sustained, transparent, and open manner. To our people who have gone out to procure the set-top boxes, I know even in my own church, if I'm on the queue to go and get my Holy Communion, you hear somebody says, "No, I'm a set-top box." And what I've told everybody, keep those set-top boxes, we're going to need them. And he says, no, they're at the post office, and say, oh, that's fine, then it means they're in the bag. So that's what is important. We need to tell everybody, nothing is going to go to waste, and nothing is not acceptable in moving forward. But what is of importance is for all of us to appreciate that this is an opportunity that we must explore. Let me also thank the members of the Advisory Council. They've come in their own individual capacity, but with their knowledge of the sector, they've also been quite good. And really, as you have said, the number of meetings, the interactions on site, outside, I do think that we are destined to make something very big, very meaningful. Other people will also come and learn from us. The department itself has never been created to be in charge of this thing. It has never been. It is meant to deal with policy, to deal with regulations, to deal with communication. You yourselves are the ones who have to make sure that we realize this dream. And I think in the spirit of our own national development plan, let's make sure that by the time we say we are done, we are better people than who we have been. Go and compete for the prizes. Those who are in the retail, we'll see you when those of us get our 13th checks and bonuses. Please go and buy Go Digital TVs. I'm going to be one of the commercial advertising people on SABC saying, yes, so that they all understand. So wherever we are, let us be ambassadors. Let us be ambassadors of what needs to be done. And let us also not overburden government. To South Africans who can afford, let us also lend a hand, and in the months of goodwill, of sharing, do consider buying a valuable appliance for those that are deserving, so that government can reach out to those who will not have anyone who can do it for them. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you so much, Minister. Thank you so much to the panel. Another round of applause for the panelists, please. So that's how we come to the end of it. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. To those watching on television and listening on radio, this is how we're going to have to eat it for today. So, ciao for now. Paint the country green. Go digital. Just your attention, please, slightly, your attention, please. The CEOs that were scheduled to attend the meeting with the minister, you can proceed to the 5th floor, please. The CEOs that were scheduled to attend a meeting with the minister, you can proceed to the 5th